Welcome in. Jesse Shule here from jesseshule.com. Once again, we're joined by Sean Higgs, also known as the Plus Dollar Daddy, and he can be found all over the leaderboards at every site he's on. There was some doubt as to whether he's still the greatest NFL handicapper in the world, but he was that guy yesterday, weren't you, Sean?
Yeah, not a bad day yesterday. I'm gonna say I think I went 6-0 in totals, 8-2 overall. I'll take it. It started out a little slow. I'm not. You have sometimes happens that way, but the last 3 weeks, I think I got 7-2 and 8-2, and I had a 500 week sprinkled in there or something like that, or 4-5. So coming around, and I lean to my dogs most of the time. So if I jump out really fast in September, it's kind of an anomaly, as we've seen, like where the public was really loving it early, right? A lot of, this is so easy to do. And then yesterday, you have a little dose of reality. Niners go down, and Buffalo not covering, and the Eagles. So, this is where I'm usually better in as the season progresses. So, I'm happy.
Well, we were talking before the show, and my NFL plays were the same as yours, except I had all the losers and none of the winners, unfortunately.
Well, that's because I had a couple more games than you. If I just stuck with the three you had, I would have been 1-2 as well. I mean, and that's another thing, Jess. Like when you lose with the better number, that's frustrating. Like you get a Colts at 5.5, it goes down to 3. You think you're looking good. You got an extra.
You can't win every day. It's been a good month for me. It's been a good football season for me. Really, I'm just around even with NFL, so no nothing to brag about there. But college is more my thing, and as much as it doesn't, there's not as much glamour attached to my name as there was last year after I got off to that big start. But the numbers aren't far off of what they were last year. And I feel a lot better about the college and just overall, things have been going well. So one bad Sunday isn't going to make me cry in my soup or anything like that. I want to mention this though, Sean. Yeah. I sent you that text message that I got on Twitter DMs.
Yes.
And a guy says to me, he says, I want you to tell me how it's possible. I followed every one of your plays, and I paid my bookie 4 weeks in a row. And that is upsetting. It's upsetting when a guy isn't winning with your plays when I'm winning, and it's like, how could you possibly be paying your bookie if you're betting all my plays? And the only answer I could come up with is you got to be screwing that up somehow. You got to be mixing in a couple of your own, leaving out ones you don't like. Exactly. You start screwing around like that, and that's the only way that I could see that happening.
Yeah, you have games, say 4 days, 4 to 7 days. You got a couple games up, say, right? You like a CFL game or whatever, and when there's nothing up there, they're going to want to bet. They're going to want to bet a game. I know a guy, and I don't throw his name out there, and he's telling me, he's like, you're when you win, like you don't sell as much. He's like, because people like to lose. He's like, they're used to losing, so they bet. It loses, they'll come back. You win a game, they have money in their pocket, they're going out on their own, and then they miss your streak because they won a game, and all of a sudden they have money, and it's like, well, look at this. I'm gonna in-game this. I'm gonna go do this, and then I'm down. Well, how are you down? I just gave you. Well, that's how they're down because you win, but then they got nothing. You have nothing next day. Well, I got money in my account. I'm gonna do this, and this. That's how you lose when you follow people who win.
Well, and the worst is when you try and jump on a guy right after he had the big day or the big week or whatever. You already missed the good stuff. It's like trying to catch caught fish. Any fisherman knows you don't go to the fishing hole where the guy caught the fish last week because next week they're going to be biting somewhere else. And if you're always a week behind, you're always losing.
You got to get a month pass. Or
what I think guys should look for, if I was inclined to be buying picks, I'd look for a guy who's got a proven track record, somebody like yourself coming off that big year last year. And I mean, if you look at the leaderboards, last year wasn't your first big year with NFL. You've been pretty successful with NFL for several years, and you were the first few weeks not kind to you. That's the opportune time to buy a guy. I think is when a guy that is good is underachieving. He's due for to go on a streak.
But But like you said, even Jess, when you go down with like a good number, like last week I had losers. I had the Rams +7 and Arizona +6, and they ended up being like threes. So when you lose with the good, you're like, I know I'm there. Like you have sometimes the worm turns for you, other times it doesn't. Like college basketball, February it never came back. Or baseball, bad August. I'm still sputtering into be a losing year. I can't get over it. It happens. It's betting. If you're new to betting, be prepared. You're gonna lose. You have a bad weekend. Rye's been doing this a bit. It happens. This is why I say better forget it. You can't just say, "Oh, the sky's falling." The stuff on Twitter after yesterday's NFL. Holy cow, folks! Come on, come back to earth a little bit here, people.
Yeah.
And if you're
Yeah.
gonna
No.
the amount of it's fixed, it's rigged, it's scripted. Hey, let me ask something. If that's why are you even betting it? And the fact that you are, how the heck aren't you taking the dogs? Why aren't you taking the dogs if you think it's so scripted and rigged? It's not rigged for a favorite to come in. It'll be all dogs. That's where it all comes in, right? Anytime you see that, it's not when the favorite covers, 44-17. No. It's when the dog hangs stuff. So
there's a lot of people that we work with,
just
Sean,
dogs and be happy. Dogs and unders.
That basically bet just based on that strategy that Vegas needs this team to win because they've taken too much money on the other team. So hence I'm gonna bet on that team. And
that's
it makes sense if you actually think Vegas can pick and choose who's going to win. But I certainly don't think that's happening.
The fact of just everybody loves so and so tonight, and I don't like the number. Like last night, as a show, I'm like, I want to take the Giants today at 15. Like Taylor had a little sniff, a little cup of coffee in Buffalo. The coach, maybe they hang tough, but did they end up playing it? No, I didn't end up playing that game. Like I'm not taking the Giants. The Giants look terrible. Buffalo is a team I think is not as good as what they appear to be. But if everybody's on one side, I'm always like that. I'm like, oh boy. That's why I like to do look at lines. That's why I like to bet overnights ahead of everything. So you're not wrapped up into the whole here comes the public dog or everybody's on this or look at the splits. Okay. Well, I'm way ahead of the splits. That's why I have a +7 or a +6 or the Colts 5.5 instead of a 3 because I'm ahead of the splits. I'm, that shouldn't make or break our games, right, Jess? Like we should be ahead of that. We should know how that line's going to go.
Yeah, I'm not a big believer in the whole public dog thing.
No, I'm not either. Especially the fact that it's legal in 20-something states. But that's the thing. Like, it's a public dog today. I mean, this isn't 1997 where we're sitting around water cooler and it's Super Bowl. Everybody's like, I like this team. You're like, oh boy, this guy doesn't always talk about it. I'll go opposite. That's easy to do back in the day. You can't do that now. That's not a profitable kind of system. It's funny, right? We laugh about it, like when we talk about the guys on TV who went to school for broadcasting or played sports, and they're like, you got to look at this, take the favorite here. All right, good.
Some of those guys are the absolute worst. The worst, like guys like Charles Barkley and Shaq. Their knowledge of betting NBA is just brutal. Brutal. There's one guy though, and I don't know if you're familiar with him, but he's your kind of guy. Don Cherry in the NHL. His takes on hockey games and gambling knowledge was phenomenal. He's an old guy. They ended up kicking him off the air because he said "you people," and that was it.
You can't say "you people" anymore?
Apparently, not in Canada. There's a lot of things you can't do in Canada these days. But before we drift off into that subject, Thursday night football, the Jags at the New Orleans Saints. And this line's moved. It was Jacksonville as the slight favorite. Now we got New Orleans as a slight favorite. And the total 41. I guess they're thinking that there's a chance that Trevor Lawrence is banged up, but that seems a little unlikely to me. Any thoughts on this one, Sean?
Yeah, I think he's I don't say he's ruled out, but I think he has
concussion protocol.
Something with him. I don't know. I did grab early on the under on a 43 on this, 43, 42.5. And I did grab a New Orleans at a -120. Just because I'm like, you know what? It's one of those, if it's, again, this is more of a play. If I'm getting an edge here with a backup quarterback on a short week, right? I'll go with Saints, even though I don't like the offense. And I've been on Saints unders. Yes, I mean you go to midday, but I'm like, just take the Saints unders. They have a really good defense, and the offense struggles. So I was on automatically. At worst, I split. Best case, the Saints actually find a little offense here versus Jacksonville. And
I mean, you got to think if Lawrence doesn't actually play, this line's got to go to what, 5, 4.5. It's not going to be 1.
It'll probably go to 3. I think. I mean, who's a backup? CJ Beathard. They're not coming from England, right? They're in Jacksonville. They're home. They're in Jacksonville. But again, it's just they play 2 in, and that's why I had the Colts 2 in England, and then the last game being a wire to wire dominant performance over Buffalo. Although that doesn't look too good after last night's Buffalo performance. Short week, backup quarterback. Maybe this is where the travel catches up with them. Versus a pretty decent defense.
So much for that off of the London game, no rest. Brian Power tweeted it out last night that Jacksonville was the first time or the first team out of 12 teams that have returned from London and played on no rest that weren't tied or losing in the fourth quarter.
Wow.
In their next game. The first time it happened in 12 occasions. And lucky for me, I was on the Colts and I had a great number, plus 5.5. Yeah. But it didn't matter. It didn't matter.
I was with you.
I mean, that was the one game that I was tuned into, and the Jags defense was pretty impressive. Man, that was something to watch. They really shut down Minshew mania there.
It looked terrible. Terrible.
I was looking at Alvin Kamara for this game, and the props aren't available yet for rushing yards, receiving yards, anytime touchdowns. But it'll be interesting to see what the prices are in Kamara props because the entire offense is going through him at the moment, as has been the case for a while. But just through 3 games since he's been back, he's got 23 receptions for 86 yards, 52 carries for 199 yards. So chances are he's, every second play is going to Kamara.
23 for 80 through the air?
For a running back, that's 3 games, 23 receptions. That's quite something, isn't it?
Yeah. I mean, it's like 3-4 yards a catch. He's not really doing much. Like little flares out of the backfield before the guy gets sacked, I guess. But
but it might be something to pay attention to especially if Jacksonville's got a backup quarterback.
Oh yeah.
Kamara is going to get a ton of action if the Saints have the ball, and they might have the ball a little more if Lawrence isn't playing.
I agree.
Yeah, short week flying in from England, and it just didn't pan out. Just didn't pan out for me. And Rye says Lawrence has a knee injury. But like I say, I don't think that line would be sitting at 1 if they actually thought he was going to be out.
Is it anything? I don't see anything on Twitter right now.
I was reading up a little bit about it, but it sounded like, he's got a questionable tag, but they think he's going to be okay is what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, I don't see it. Here we go. All right. Rappaport says MRI day to day.
Day to day, yeah. So they expect him to play it, I think.
Still not a good spot. Short week. I'm definitely not running to take the Jags as a favorite. That one.
No. But this game is one that everybody's going to be paying attention to. The Dolphins at the Eagles. Eagles 2.5 over under 52. That Lane Johnson injury for the Eagles could loom large.
Yep.
And I'm kind of pissed at myself because I've been looking for a spot to go against the Eagles, and I hummed and hawed about the Jets yesterday, but didn't want to back Zach Wilson. Couldn't get the good number anymore because the money was coming in on the Jets, and I passed. And now it feels like did Did I miss my opportunity, or is this week a good
them.
spot too?
I didn't have the Jets, and I know I did put it out on picks and parlays. I did a free pick video. I was like, take the Jets here. And again, I had the Eagles. I faded the Eagles the week before, flying cross country after the overtime game. I'm like, again, I mean, OT, cross country, now back cross country versus a team with a defense. And Philly, this line was a 3 and a 53.5. So obviously it ticked down based on, I guess, the offensive line question. Maybe who got somebody in Miami get nicked up? Maybe one of the running backs. I don't know. I want to take
Chain's out for the maybe the season or for a long time.
I thought somebody got banged up yesterday. I want to take Miami, but part of me is like, you know what? They're going to go into like this will be like a hornet's nest here. I mean, Phillies could be all riled up. The Phillies could possibly be in the World Series by next Sunday night, right? The town will be on fire, and the crowd will be ridiculous. I don't know if I can take Miami. I'm going to have to see how this plays out. Like, I want to take Miami, but I don't know. I'm not a believer in the Philly just because they haven't looked that good. And I said from the beginning of the season, I thought they were the best team in the AFC. I wasn't really high on Rise being at the game at the Lincoln. I wasn't really high on the Niners because I thought Purdy would maybe take a step back, right? And, well, he took a step back yesterday. We know when the star players go down around him. But it's just a team I think is really talented. What we've seen them so far this year, I think they got picked off yesterday. Can they get picked off again? I don't know. I got to wait and see. I have nothing on that game. And I do have 3, 6, 7, 8 games already for next week.
Yeah, I couldn't pull the trigger on it, but I think it's safe to say I don't think I'm going to be on Philly. Just as much as I've been critical of Miami and Tua, at the end of the day, he's holding up. He still looks like that offense is firing on all cylinders. I mean it's Miami or nothing for me, I think, and don't want to touch the total. Might have thought about checking the weather and looking at an under. I did check the weather, and they were calling for some wind for sure. I guess it's always windy in Philly, but
it's October.
Mm-hmm. And that's something that we're going to have to start paying attention to in the next week or two, especially in college football. You get some of these smaller stadiums that don't have any protection and it's blowing 25, 30. You get a lot of 9-6 scores in the Big Ten in late October, early November.
On top of that, just they want to run a ball like it's 1979 too. So
Kyle Hunter is the master of the weather unders in college football. He's
freaking unbelievable. He's good.
He must have a good meteorologist connection or something.
I saw he posted the other day. He's like, oh man, this newsletter had like losers in it, right? Because we talked about it with Ross, and I saw it on Twitter. He's like, people are like angry. I'm like, how the heck this guy wins? I mean, he's like college hoops totals. I mean, college football. He's like
I checked him out. He was 7-3 yesterday or on Saturday with college. So and he was another guy.
And I get that. Like you put stuff, and I said this when I do my show. I'm like, I had like last year in Midday Money, my NFL was like a losing season. Like I didn't have a winning season in NFL in the Midday Money show. It went up. I was just going over the numbers. 59 and 54 ended up being a losing season. But yet, on the flip side of it, I was 70 games over 500. But when you like kind of pick something to throw in there, it is what it is. That's why I like taking one. It's the free picks are tough, Jess. I don't know about you. Like I give a free pick out, I want it to be like a winner. I don't want to just throw it out there.
And especially when we're on shows where we're assigned games that we probably wouldn't be betting on, but we're asked to give our opinion. At the end of the day, people want our opinion on games that they want to know about. But our biggest opinion, and I try to be as straightforward as possible and say, hey, I'm probably not going to be betting this game myself, but if I was, hypothetically, here's my opinion. And it's, you start asking me to win with games. It's hard enough to win with the games you like, let alone win with the games that you don't like,
It's tough. I think people don't get that. Like, I don't, I mean, there's plenty of times, I mean, as many games as I bet some days, if I don't like a game, how can I come in and try to steer your opinion on something? I'm not going to bet it. And I'm a guy who bets a ton of games.
Well, Sean, now that you mention it, this is why I've changed up my format for my Saturday morning kickoff show, and I have guys come in to debate me because I find that provides more value for the listeners because I pick games that I have a fairly strong opinion about. They're not my best. They're not the best of my best games, but they're games that I think I have a pretty solid angle on one side or the other that, otherwise I wouldn't want to come to the table and debate another pro if I didn't feel strongly enough about it. And then I invite guys in who have equally the same strong feelings on the other side, and we get a chance to hash it out. They give their points, I give mine, and that allows the listener to see who brings up the most valid argument. And you could choose, the guy that I bring in if his story sounds like it makes more sense than mine, or you can pick mine. One of them is going to be right, one of them is going to be wrong, or it could be a push. But I think that's it's good for entertainment value. It's a lot of fun to do it, and I think getting those different perspectives and seeing how different people handicap the games differently is there's value in that for the listener.
Yeah, for sure.
Would you participate in something like that, Sean, for NFL? If I put something together, would you come on and debate me or one of the other guys on a game, or is that something?
I debate people every day when they have something. So yeah, I'll come on.
Come on in full costume, in full $+ daddy costume.
I gotta come into my outfits. I pulled the little outfit out for Ross because he's like, oh, you gotta sell it. You're not getting many sales. You gotta sell.
I got to say, a lot of people bring up the Mr. Perfect outfit that I pulled out last year, and that was a big hit. But I got to say, your outfit was better than mine. I was really excited about that outfit.
I just figured, because I had to go. If I'm going to go hype style, it's going to be like straight out of 2 for the Money style. I don't want to say it's that kind of style. Like that's funny. Like I used to watch those shows, man. That was hilarious back in the day.
Yeah. I think people still watch Stu just for. I mean, at the end of the day, that whole Barstool thing is entertaining. If you don't take it seriously and you just watch it for entertainment value,
that's why I got the rings, because I saw like Barstool, and I don't know how those rings fit Big Cat. I think the ones at Party City don't even fit my pinky. Those tiny little rings.
Yeah. Oh, I guess that's what Rye's saying. Yeah, Rye comes on to the college football show once in a while to pick against the Iceman, and I think he's 1-1 so far.
That's not bad. What are you gonna do?
He had Ohio State against Maryland, and he was able to sneak in the back door late with a couple late touchdowns.
Never in doubt, Ohio State.
Yeah. All right. Okay, so let's talk about this Monday night game. Oh, this is one that I don't want to have anything to do with, though. San Fran at Minnesota. I guess no CMC. San Fran coming off a loss.
I got the under there on look at lines. I said take the under just because, again, it's San Fran defense is going to be defense. And even if they force Minnie into – and it's Cousins prime time. Everybody loves to fade that guy. He's a mess. I'm going under. Sidewise, neither here nor there with. I mean, Purdy kind of looked pretty pedestrian with no Samuel and no CMC. And this is like we've said, right? We've talked about it. You go to a team that has guys like that around you, look really good. Without guys around him, he looked like Wilson or Kenny Pickett or any other kind of, let's throw in any kind of young quarterback who didn't look good with offensive players around him. So do I want to lay a touchdown on the road? Not particularly. Not especially in back-to-back road games. That's something I'm looking to do. I'll fire on the under. Already have. I'm not going to overthink things. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game.
Yeah, I guess Debo also banged up, listed as questionable. They got an offensive lineman banged up, listed as questionable as well. So, we'll find out who Purdy really is now that he's got a regular level talent around him.
I'm just seeing who they have on deck. Oh, so they're going. Oh, they got Cincy the next week at home. But even like they play, I know it's football. Everybody's banged up all the time. You could kind of tweak something. You want to make it worse? I look at a limited kind of playbook. Let's not try to get guys hurt. Kind of, make matters worse, I should say. San Fran's got a little bigger fish to fry than Minnesota on a Monday night. Now, you are in off a loss, so that's not good. But I can't run to bet San Fran here -7.
No, I don't see any incentive for them to blow them out here. I mean, they got to be over the moon if they just win this game by a field goal, really, San Francisco.
And then you have Minnesota, who's like, can we get something done here? Like, these guys have every game they play is a one-score game most of the time. Although, except last week when I said to take them against Kansas City and they lose by 7 instead of 5. But all close games. Look at them: 2017, 34-28, 28-24, 21-13, 27-20, 19-13. All right there for the taking.
Good, and they're not quite dead yet either, are they?
Oh, well, you got 2 wins. I mean, Detroit looks pretty good.
I guess Detroit's going to win the division.
A lot of parity.
2-4.
A lot of 3-2 teams. A lot of 3-3s. They're still alive. I mean, again, give me the under, but if you want to lean to mini, I'm not going to talk you off it.
Yeah, I think this is Monday Night Football. It's one of my rules. Unless there's something I really like, I'm staying off of it for sure.
Yeah,
and this is one of those ones that anything I pick on this game is going to be forced. So
that's how you hit 60, 63, 65, 67% over years, Jess. When you're like, you know what, you look at it and it's not jumping at you, just flip the page.
Did you see that graphic I posted about college football dating back to 2021?
What was that? I was just on your page. I retweeted the
70 and 30 college football.
Oh yeah,
I saw last 100. So pretty proud of that. But that's clearly a lot of cherry picking going on to only have 100 sides dating back to November of 2021.
And that's here's the thing. It goes back to what you said earlier. Like, oh, I'm down betting your picks because people do not have discipline. This is why it's tough to win long term and how to be a quote unquote pro kind of guy or full time. Do you have the discipline to not play something? Really, people are like, and you're doing live shows. I see people come in now. How do you get into this? Well, write your plays down for a week. Can you just not bet for a week? Can you put your? That's the number one killer, people. I mean, someone follows you. You're better than me long term. I mean, but they can't do that, Jess. Like, they can't handle not betting. They have to. Okay, Jess goes 3-0. Wonderful. Oh, he's got nothing today. Well, I'm going to do something early game because he only has he's got something at 4:30 today. But
he's not betting Monday Night Football. I'm gonna have a 3-team parlay on Monday Night Football.
Really, I get it. I was degenerate 90s. Listen, Sunday night, It was just dime, nickel reverse always. Like, let's gonna go sweep the board. Yeah, I mean, just 1-1, 1-1, 1-1. Whatever the side total. You can't. You have to be able to not to play something. People can't though. This is 30-second TikTok crew. Swipe right. Let's go Twitter. 40 characters. Microwave something for a minute and 30 seconds. They cannot handle not having action. Race to 10. First basket score. Who's going to score first? Like, all right.
It's a scary thought when those kids are our age. Where's America going to be, Sean?
No, be gone in 5 years anyway. So.
Yeah,
I mean, really, when you think about it, it's funny. We joke like, "Oh, old man." Like, really, what are you doing betting like that? I don't get it. I don't even know if they'll learn because they're working part time, whatever they're doing. I mean, most people bet aren't sitting home all day, staring at computer screens and getting freaking. Eye twitches, and sometimes I got crusties. I got to put hot rags on my eyes because my eyes are swelling from staring at freaking blue screens all day. I mean, you're not. And again, I guess some people make money that way. I don't know. I mean, do any pros who bet nonstop like that? I really don't know guys who. I mean,
I think you're the only one that I know, Sean, that has any success with such high volume. Well, I shouldn't say that. There is a lot of guys on some of the sites that I don't know them. I don't know what their strategy is. They're kind of
But I mean, from the fact that like guys who are just straight up like we're doing race to 10 kind of props. I mean, player props are one thing. You're gonna get into player props. I know guys who are just straight player props are like, you know what? NFL's
Mhm.
too hard to beat. I'm a player prop guy. And I'll respect that because they're not really on sides or totals. They're just gonna jump into props. And I'm sure and listen, the guy makes money doing just props, and there are always a lot of unders in these props. They're not taking like Jefferson over 80 yards or they're not running to the stud kind of things like that. They're going to some obscure guy under catches, under rushes, under yards. But they're like, oh man, sides. I've been bothering with that. The line's too sharp. Well, I feel like over my career, I have more success with that. I'm not looking to move out of those. But I am looking to move into more for like the three-way in hockey, like just bend that regulation kind of, because the way me, plus dollar daddy. I can't like 220s. I don't want that. I like the
I
regulation.
mean,
I like to know
it's
bottom
hard
line
with
now in
hockey these
baseball.
days. Every game seems to be a $2 favorite. So, I
Right?
mean,
I can't and people want action, so you end up putting stuff on a site because you cannot have nothing for a week because there's and it's end up, well, here's a puck line, here's a run line, they end up losing. And we've talked about this on air and off air. It's frustrating. Like you don't want to be forced into putting something up, but when there's nothing for days on end and people know you're a volume kind of guy. All right, I'm a volume guy, but on a Saturday college basketball, we have 16 games. Gonna be ready to move on 16 games on one day? Probably not, because you're a wacko. And again, it's not like I'm putting $4,000 on all these games. They're low volume. It's high volume, low kind of betting. Everybody's different. I feel like you can't be in competition with people, Jess. Like your bets are different than my bets, than Rye's bets, than who's ever bets. Everybody bets different. We have different ways we tackle things. Me, when I have something a little bigger, I can move a little more money. I feel comfortable in that. The average person can't do that because they're limited out already. Like I can't. What are you talking about? Thursday night game? It's Monday. We gotta bet tonight's game first before I bet Thursday.
well,
Okay.
that's another way to lose money by buying picks. You buy a pro's picks, and then you get them a week ahead of time. You could bet those lines, lock in those numbers, but you wait till Sunday afternoon to bet on the Sunday afternoon games.
And I get those emails. Oh, yeah, I don't have that. I don't know what to tell you, man. I do a show on Sunday. I say the lines are moving. They have moved. It's going to move even more. Like they move into 2 hours from the time I post the lines. What are you waiting for?
Krakenberger posted on Twitter the other day about that. That was like the number one mistake of amateur bettors is betting on game day for NFL, and how the bookmakers just clean up. The majority of their money is made on those last bets placed right before the game.
I mean, how many people last night were like, oh, they got to take the Bills money line tonight, or Bills minus the points? I mean, I'm sure they probably have more money lines because people are just, again, how much money are you putting on a money line like that? But either way, like people had to get slaughtered this weekend. First of all, Colorado loses, right? And just loses outright. So, I mean, that's, in college football, everybody's running to bet that team for whatever reason. So they come in Sunday morning bleeding out of their ears. Oh, backup quarterback. Let's go 49ers, easy winner. And then they miss a field goal to boot. And I saw that, and here come all the rigged, fixed. I mean, I laugh, and not that I want people to lose, but like, folks, there was I retweeted, there was like a fight before the game. I'm like, Browns by double digits. They win this outright. Like the -1. Yeah. I like the regulation one, Rye. I mean, it's just if I'm making a 280 fave, that game shouldn't go to regulation, right? It's like a baseball when you're taking a huge 240 fave of baseball. Like that game should not be 1-0 going, top 8. You're a big fave in hockey. You better be up 3-0 going to the fourth period, or third period, fourth. I'm like, got football in my head, right? Jess, are you with me on that? Like, you're a big fave. It shouldn't be the first period of games, first half of football. They should be blowouts. Baseball game, it should be 5-0 in the fifth inning. You're cruising. Hockey should be 3-0 in the second.
I do like the first period bets, and those are bets that I can get in at some sites first period. And especially if it's the right spot, if you got like a real motivational spot, like a bounce back spot or revenge game, home team jumps all over them in the first period kind of thing. So I like those. Hockey to me though is just like it's become like NBA, even though at some point in my career 10, 15 years ago, hockey was my favorite sport. Now it's come down to a couple weeks before the playoffs. wake me up and I'll start betting hockey. And
why is that?
It's there's 82 games. It's a long season. It's hard to really dial it in. It's hard for me to dial it in the middle of the season with the NHL, and you get all these mismatches, and teams that are $3 favorites, a whole board full of $3 favorites. And what do you want me to do with that? When you get to when there's about 15 or 20 games left in the regular season, who's not going to make the playoffs, who's on the bubble and fighting for that playoff spot, who's already clinched and has some breathing room. And so you get these big favorite teams they've already clinched first place in their division. They're on the road back-to-back nights. They're facing a team that is fighting for a playoff spot. That team's a big dog. You take them on the puck line or whatever. You get these opportunities that you don't get in the first 20, 30, 40 games of the regular season. So my records are better at the tail end of the year than they are at the beginning of the year with hockey.
I find that too with like the NBA for me, like, because people are like, oh, NBA, and I'm like, I'll try to find spots in the NBA regular season, teams off huge crushing blowouts or back-to-backs or a couple road games in a row. I'm trying to find an angle. But playoff time, end of the season's, I don't say it's easier, but who's playing. I mean, I know hockey guys play through injuries, but in the NBA, it's like, come on, man. Like,
I mean, my numbers will support it. That even last year, like right now, if you go to Picks and Parlays, it'll say the number one NHL handicapper for 2023 is me. Now, that's a little bit disingenuous because 2023 wasn't the beginning of the season, right? So that's taking my numbers for that period of time that I tell you that I'm good at betting hockey.
Yeah.
So it works out really nicely for me. The reality is, if you were betting my picks in the beginning of last season, you wouldn't, you might be a little bit upset to see that I wasn't as good. Same NBA. I've got pretty good numbers with NBA career-wise, going back many years. I usually stick to totals in the regular season and try and be super selective, and then really ramp it up as the playoffs approach. And playoff NBA, it seems like there's a lot of square bettors that love betting the NBA, right? All these guys, like all LeBron James fans and these fans of
the players. Yes,
they're just betting their team, and they're not, they're not really aware of, they're just not as sharp as I think college football bettors or NFL bettors are.
Betting $1,000 on a win total. Really? Do you think they're going to do something? Oh, they're really good. Bet the win total. Right? I mean, bet the win total. Why would you bet every game thinking they're going to cover a number? They're not going to go, 52 and whatever and cover 52 games as favorites. It's not happening. Right? I mean, most times they're going to be favorites if that's I say this at college football. Everybody's like, oh, you got to. I'm like, bro, you like the Irish. Just take the win total over. Why are you going to lay 30 and 40 points? Just bet the over. It's 10 games.
I used to like picking long shot futures for, NBA Finals winner or Stanley Cup winner or something like that. And I've hit a few over the years. But again, it's a cheap way. Like you said, you bet a nickel or a dime on a team that's 20 or 30 to 1. Gives you something to you got skin in the game as long as they make the playoffs, right?
Yep.
Well, Sean, I think we're going to shut her down for today. I want to thank you for joining me, and I want to congratulate you for kicking ass with your football picks this weekend, both at college too, right? You had a good day on Saturday as well.
Yeah, I had a winning day Saturday. College turned around. Whatever. Jess, it's like you know how it is. I try not to. I know the numbers are going to eventually come to the plus side for me. I started out and I was just for the first month, it was like, oh, we're a couple games, 2 games under 500, 2 games over. We're not doing much. And then a couple good weeks in a row, you take a couple 55, 60% weekends and bumps up your confidence a little bit. So I'm happy. I feel like I'm seeing the board. And even on my losses, though, right? I mean, you lose a game, obviously I think it's going to win. So I feel like I've been seeing the board good all year just so getting every win. But yeah, it is what it is. I'm keep grinding along. That's it, day to day. I mean, I don't know. College basketball's coming, so I got to really start jumping into that now. It's mid-October.
That's another one. It's NHL, NBA, college basketball, and college football and NFL all at the same time. It's daunting. It's really daunting, and I screwed up last year, getting too excited about concentrating on college basketball and NBA, and let it slip with the football for a little while, and before I straightened it out, and I finished with a pretty solid year with both NFL and college, but from where I started and where I finished, there was a bit of a blip there in November when all these other sports started. So I've consciously made a decision not to get too distracted by the start of college basketball and NBA this year.
I just think November and December college basketball, I think I really have a good kind of feel because it's teams that like a lot of mid-major kind of stuff. You could rely on a team with 5 or 6 starters back or upperclassmen or the same kind of coach and continuity as opposed to jumping on your big name schools that are going to be laying crazy numbers. And here comes a touted freshman and he's a sophomore is going to be. Give me the team that's 5, 6, 7 deep. Nobody's really looking at it. And I think that's where they shine.
3 or 4 seniors in the starting 5.
Yeah, I like
bringing back everybody from last year.
Yeah, I like it. It's like everybody's back. It's November and they're ready to go. It's sometimes they're dogs or they're not really rated right because they worry about NFL and college football more. You can still find better numbers. Maybe that's why I do so well early. I not so well. I win more in. I'm not going to lie, from November, December, January, and then February's. You think I'd be better with conferences? Like you think I'd be all right? Like I know these teams. The conference time's kind of tough, but then the tournaments I do all right. I bounce back. February's always a tough. I don't know why. It just is, and I had to. You know how it is. You're set in your way, so it's kind of like I can't do this, but you feel like I was hitting them so good. The numbers are the same. Why am I not hitting them now? I have to remember February. Don't bet 7 games. Bet 2. Just slow it down. February's gonna come back and bite me in the ass.
It's always important to go back and look at the numbers and see what's working and what hasn't worked, and try to get better every year. And I think I feel like I'm doing that right now. I feel like I am just correcting some small little mistakes every week, every year, trying to get a little bit better at this. And that's life. That's what you should do. You should always be learning and always getting better.
That's it.
That's the goal. That is the goal. Anyway, Sean,
easier said than done for sure.
It is. It requires a lot of patience. Requires a little bit of age. As you get grayer hair, you get a little bit more laid back, and you can really start to see everything for the way it is, and you develop some patience. But
that's the hard.
So lesson for all the young cats out there. Anyways, I got to get going. I got to start prepping for some other shows. But thank you for joining me, Sean. And you guys can get Sean's picks at the link in the description box, and you can see me at jesseshul.com.
Take it easy.